Everyone. I'm Greg Stanley. I'm here with Wes Warren. We're with Whitehall Management. Our topic today has to do with getting up to date, catching up with the marketing changes that are taking place in our world. I think you're going to be surprised. Wes, what are you seeing?
Well, it really started, I would say, 3 years ago with COVID. Obviously, a lot of things have changed. But some things that, if we go back before that we saw slowing down, let's put it that way, kind of your traditional marketing avenues like postcards, like newsletters, maybe even TV, especially radio. Those things were heading in a trajectory where they were not working as well as they once did. And over the last couple of years, they're really being I want to say, outperformed by digital marketing. So digital marketing is just beating them hands down in every sense of the word, beating them. So you spend $1,000 on postcards versus $1,000 online. Your online results are just so much better and it's scalable. You can spend almost unimaginable amounts of money online. So we're seeing the old school stuff really fall by the wayside right now. Now that can change in the future as less people do that. So don't think that that may never come back. It could. As doctors leave that, it might work one day again at the same level. But yeah, we're seeing Google pay-per-click be the dominant source for new patients. I might also add Google reviews. And if you're in an area where there's a lot of Yelp reviews, we're seeing that combination of Google pay-per-click with a lot of reviews really dominating the landscape. So if you're not in that field, I would definitely suggest that you get in and weigh in a big way. The other thing that I will point out is we're not seeing it across the board with all companies that doctors use. For whatever reason, some companies are better at this than others. And so we should talk about results. So if we're talking general new patients, we're not looking for large cases, we're not looking for implant patients, just a general new patient. We're seeing cost of new patients going down below $200 a new patient. In some cases, well below $200 a new patient. So how you evaluate your marketing company is based off of that. How you're doing, how many leads are you getting, how many new patients are they bringing to the door, and we're seeing that number should be now below $200 a new patient. If you're in an area like LA or New York, Greg, that number could be a little higher, but it should be maybe 250 to 300 max in really competitive areas like LA and New York and downtown Chicago, places like that. So yeah, it's the number one source now. That's the main thing that's changed. Another thing that's changed is online scheduling. This is another thing that not all offices have jumped onto, but it's becoming a bigger and bigger thing. People don't want to call anybody anymore. They just much rather schedule online. So we're seeing a lot more online scheduling. It does create problems with missed appointments, and that would be the thing that has to be solved in the office for most of you, is the missed appointments with new patients with online scheduling. Couple things to consider. One is you got to get patients in quick, less than a week. So if they're scheduling on Monday, you need to get them in on the next Monday or earlier. And your risk of no-shows obviously diminishes greatly if you can do that.
Okay. Wes, I have a question. If you can just back up on one thing.
Sure.
You talked about the companies that do this online marketing and this Google and this pay-per-click, et cetera. I know a lot of people work to do that themselves, and it seems like they have mixed results. Is this something they can do without?
Yes, we have doctors do it themselves. If you have some knowledge on how, to set up these accounts, and you can watch some YouTube videos If you're digitally savvy in any way, you don't have to be great at it. Just if you know how to set up an account, watch some YouTube videos, you can actually do this yourself and get these kind of results. One of the big mistakes that we see is the allocation of funds spent with these companies that our dentists are using for marketing. Is they'll have, let's say, a $2,000 budget. 400 or 500 will be spent on SEO and hosting, and maybe another 500, 600, 700 on like social media and some other weird things. And really, when you look at it, you're only spending 800 on pay-per-click. And that's totally why we see a lot of offices don't get the results I'm talking about. It really needs to be weighted towards pay-per-click. They're going to charge you for servicing the account, and it's going to cost $300 or $400. I get that, but $1,600 ought to be put towards pay-per-click if you're looking at a $2,000 budget, and skip all the other add-ons that these companies like to push you towards. And SEO is one of the famous ones, but there's social media, all these different things that they provide. You want to make sure it's fully weighted towards pay-per-click, Google pay-per-click.
Since we've been doing this, which is forever, it seems that doctors always, if given the choice, would pick advertising or marketing that nobody sees because they're kind of embarrassed to be doing it. But it is, it's the norm now. It's where patients are coming to them. And I might add, it's a better patient than we were seeing from a lot of our mail and so forth.
Yeah.
So watch out, that quiet, unconscious urge to be anonymous is still in all of us. We want marketing that, so we can say we're marketing, but nobody really sees it and is offended by it. You got to get out in front of that.
One of the other things that we see as a problem with this type of marketing is you get the patients that are Medicare patients, state plans, different things like that, calling, and I don't want to say bombarding the practice, but certainly quite a few. And there's a strategy in how to deal with that, and that's called geofencing. And you definitely want to do this. So it's pretty simple. What you do is you just keep track of where your good patients come from. You could even run it off of your own patient base and find out around your practice. Usually it's a mile or 2 miles where the majority of your patients come from, but you'll notice that they come from certain pockets, certain areas, and you can, through pay-per-click, eliminate any searches that happen in areas that seem to bring this type of patient, let's put it that way. And so that your marketing dollars get focused in areas where your patients come from, the patients you currently have. And so you can literally take a map and go, okay, and draw an X around this apartment complex and these 4 apartment complex and this road, anything south of this road, we don't want to spend any money over there. We want to, so you can literally make it so that all the advertising dollars are spent in areas that you know are going to yield better patients for the practice. And you definitely want to go through that process. It is a little tedious. It can take a few months to kind of put it together and to refine the areas, but it's definitely worth it to try to eliminate these patients that kind of frustrate our doctors with this type of marketing.
There's something I've noticed as I watch people turning to different sources for online marketing. And there's dozens of them, you know, people in their area, kind of the hacker down the street that's 14 all the way to big institutional things. It's hard to face the reality that when we give those people $5,000 or $10,000, their goal is to spend as little as possible on our marketing.
Yeah.
That's how that's how they make their money. We don't make our money that way. They make their money that way. And if you're not on top of them, if you don't keep track, there's a tendency to get under marketed for a full price. You're paying a full price.
Exactly. That's exactly what. So if you spend $2,000 a month with a company, they don't want to spend none of it through pay-per-click because that all goes to Google. So they want to try to do SEO, organic stuff that costs them nothing. Essentially, yeah, they got to have a person really do some things, but generally speaking, they keep that money internally. And so their motivation is to not spend money in pay-per-click. And this is exactly the point I think you're trying to make is make sure that they are, make sure that a substantial part of your budget is going towards Google directly.
Just an observation too, on a predictable pattern associated with that. You sign somebody on, they might spend the whole amount. I don't know, they might even spend more than you pay them, but you get flooded with patients. You tell people about them, across the country. You're not going to tell your next door neighbor, but pretty soon they're really popular and busy, this marketing company. That's when it all starts to come apart. They've got a lot of clients, they're hiring people. That's when it's probably going to break down, and you're going to see less and less of your dollars really spent on the things that actually bring home the bacon. You said, Wes, we could hopefully now see a patient under $200 seeing 150, even less.
Yeah, I have offices, Greg, that they're spending 1,800, 1,900, 2,000, and they're getting 25 new patients consistently. I'm seeing that through. There's some things you got to refine, like we talked about, and the missed appointment thing. Definitely, you gotta solve that, and that's usually getting them in quicker. And so you got to put some blocks in your schedule for new patients so that you can get them in a lot quicker. And with these online scheduling people, you got to call them right away. As soon as they schedule online, you got to outbound and make sure your team touches base with them and confirms the appointment. That's the other secret. But yeah, this is where it's all going. And we're seeing a massive, massive change in terms of success. I think we talked about this a few times. The amount of dentists that had retired and the amount of hygienists that have retired over the last 3 years have really changed the dynamic in dentistry in terms of supply and demand. It's in our favor right now with patients. There are more patients looking for dentists now than there's actually dentists able to receive them. Many of us are having trouble just hiring a hygienist so that we can accommodate these new patients. And so it's really the time to get out there and capitalize. So yeah, get this solved, get it fixed.
One last thing I'd like to add is something we already covered, but we probably passed over part of it. And that is that, yeah, you can do this in your home, boys and girls. I mean, you can do this in your office, etc. But we found that as the offices expand, it takes more and more time from a very high quality, high impact staff person to deliver this. In other words, though we aren't paying some firm to get these clicks for us or whatever, the person we have doing this, it takes more and more of their time. So you have to figure that in and be realistic. At some point, maybe she's going to have to be moved over to full-time marketing. So don't estimate that.
We have offices, that use a team member that manages this and tinkers with this, and they'll start off with a budget of $1,000, tinker with it, mess with it for a few months, get this working, and then increase the budget up. And you certainly can do that. I assume over the next few years, Google's going to make this easier and easier and easier for the consumer to actually do this instead of having a middleman provide this service. And we're definitely seeing that. So that definitely could happen. The other thing I want to just touch on before we let everybody go here is the inbound scripting. I know we harp on this, but how they answer the phone, what they say, how they schedule that patient matters. And if you do not train your team on how to answer the phone and how to take these marketing patients and convert them into patients, you can spend 10,000 a month and not get results. They have to be trained on the basics. They have to know how to secure an appointment with these marketing patients. We talk about this a lot. I'll share just a few little words of wisdom. Just make sure the first question they ask. So a patient's going to call and they're going to say, hey, do you take this insurance, or how much is this? How much is that? The first thing your team is going to say is, sure, I'd love to answer that for you, but may I ask how you heard about the practice? Okay, so that's the first question they're going to ask. Then they're going to do their best to answer their question. So no, we're not in that plan. And there's a lot of scripting out there on how to answer these tough questions. But the key thing for your team to remember is try to answer the question and then use what's called a dual alternative close. This is where you give them 2 appointment times. Would you like mornings or afternoon? Which one works best for you? Would you like a Tuesday or a Thursday? What works best for you? If they can remember to do that, you're going to do fairly well. I mean, obviously, there's more to this scripting and to really perfect it. But if you can really train your team on just remember to do that, ask the patient how they heard about the practice, do their best to answer their question or their objection to coming, and slip into that dual alternative close. Answer their question and say, hey, what works best for you, mornings or afternoons? You'll do reasonably well with these marketing phone calls.
Great input. Thanks for sharing and bringing us up to date on what the current marketing landscape looks like. Wes, thank you.
A lot of doctors, their situation's so unique, Greg, and they feel like a lot of this stuff applies, but there's a couple things that makes my practice so different that they kind of get stopped right there and they don't act, they don't make changes. That's why we set up some time for you to call and talk with us. You guys sit and listen to these podcasts, these webinars with us, and it raises some questions that you need answered. We set aside a couple hours every week to talk with people that aren't clients. We do it free of charge. There's no big pitch to join anything. We just want to help you out and work through your problems. So click the link and set up an appointment. You don't even have to talk to anybody to set up an appointment. So we'll be glad to talk to you.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening.